force. Resistance is real. We governmental rule. Invent the defenses cause our views get futile. Improve. So expensive penny speed. Electing more symbols all suspended sense. Self-suppression of evidence will be met with belligerence. And you can hesitate penance cause like the present intent. Hence, your confession is expected if you think they were presented in a method. Yes, you guess it. Blessed are we who come in the name of J. Our word spreads like a I declare. It's a state of emergency, the president sends. So don't expect the reality, depend on humanity. If it doesn't agree with it, you can't resist the skin. So give yourself a moving, it's still how you feel. The war, emotion, while you see. Cross, us consciously. You can't deny the force. No, you can't. You can't deny the force. You can't deny the force. No, you can't. You can't deny the force. You can't deny the force. No, you can't. You can't deny the force. You can't deny the force. No, you can't. You can't deny the force. Round robin. Questions, comments, wagers, give us a reason. Sleeper fantasy play, the best alternative line, whatever you have. Text the round robin 757-354-5517.
Can you see by the dawn's early light that proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose cross stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, take us past our spangled banner yet wave.
No.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
You are tuned in to the Round Robin with Stephen Murray on Deep End Broadcasting.
Down up in these streets, nobody left to respect. Still singing Bible night, people my praise on the bed. Way up ahead, I see the crowd and flashing through the lights. I run to see the guy that jumps on the Bible. To the free show, never know what's going on, just happy to exist.
Nephew Dave and I here on a Thursday, September the 14th, 2023, right as week 2 is right underway tonight, David. Just a few short hours away as we're live, 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time here from the Chick Speech Studios. Of course, me and Nephew Dave have had a long day of work, so here we are to give you some football and catch our breath from everything. How's it going, Dave? How's your day today? Busy day?
Not bad, Steve. Enjoying the cooler temps a little bit for sure.
Oh man, yeah, it's been hot here for the last forever is what it seems like, to be honest.
Yeah.
But finally a little bit better. Get a nice breeze coming through, a hurricane off the coast, and we'll rock and roll for the weekend with nice, beautiful weather as well. So Dave, a few ways to go. We got the NFL football game tonight, of course. We have college football, of course, and we have baseball. Of course, me and you, of course, for the of course, 100th time I say that, can save the NFL stuff predominantly for Monday. But I will say this. I did interview Del Grande for our show on Sunday. I had to do that early this week. We had to do it early. So we did it on a Thursday. And normally we want to incorporate the Thursday game with all of that as well. We just basically ignored it for the most part. But, man, came out with a lot of good stuff. And it's good to hear when someone sees some of the things that you have seen as well. So I'll be interested to get a little bit of your take on that tonight and then Sunday for sure. But let's go ahead and do this. We do have baseball underway. We'll actually do the slate later. But let's go ahead and get caught up on the scores. And we'll talk briefly about that. But then it's time, I think, to talk college football for the most part. We'll hit the NFL game after that. And then we'll do baseball after that. In fact, we'll do the NFL game first. But let's do the baseball scores. That way, if you're driving around and you need to throw a bet in, we won't make you wait any longer than you have to. It'll be interesting to get your take on all of that. But as far as Major League Baseball today goes, as I get the scores up right now, finals, we have two of them. Pirates 2 and Nationals nothing, and the Tigers, Dave, 8-2 winners over the Reds. All right, so 2-0 games really for the most part. In action now, two teams hanging by a thread, but really that thing's going to break apart here in a matter of a day or two. But the Red Sox, bottom of the 8th, 2-0 leaders over the Yankees. And in the game that definitely matters for both teams, Brewers 3, Marlins 2, top of the 7th, 2 out. Marlins man on second. Both teams with just 5 hits apiece. So the rubber game of that matchup, Brewers win the first game handily, and then the Marlins on the rebound here last night. All right, NFL tonight. Let's look at that, Dave. What are your I haven't heard anything from you at all. Just go ahead and spit it out, man. Give me your breakdown on this, and then we'll look at a couple numbers.
All right, Steve. So I was looking at a little bit of this last night, and I actually have a futures parlay that I would love to run by you to see what you think of this one.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready to hear that, we'll get into that. But, Steve, I did a little play here. I'm going to take Philly at the number of -6.5, and that's where they laid it. I'm not going to lay an alt line or anything. Just coming out of week 1, you know, you get that 25-20 against the Patriots where you look at that matchup as we talked about it Sunday morning. You expected that to kind of, you know, get a little bit ugly, and it really never did. I think even the Patriots probably should have won that game. They had a chance there at the end. But I will say this as well. I think the Patriots defense has some absolute potential this year. So maybe it's not a gimme in that respect, but you would expect them to come away with a little bit more than a 5-point win against the Patriots. And now you get Minnesota. And I like to think here, Steve, in this spot, in the primetime spot tonight, that they do kind of, you know, get back to what we thought they were going to be, so to speak. Still very early, so tough to say that. But I think you know what I mean by I think they can, you know, probably beat Minnesota by 10 or more. But I'm just going to lay the 6.5 and just kind of hope that, you know, it's a touchdown or a 10-point game come near the end.
Would you use? Are you confident enough in Philadelphia to use them in a survivor pick?
Boy, I tell you what, I was looking at that because I have I'm in 4 leagues, and one of them is kind of a different league where there's a couple different ways to play all wrapped into one. And the survivor is one of those ways to play. And Steve, I was looking at that list last night. Wow, tough week for survivor in my book. I went ahead and took Detroit, but yeah, if you want to,
okay, wow, all right,
you can. Still a little early though for me to want to fire on Philly.
Okay. Can you change your pick before kickoff if you decide
Yeah,
to?
I can go back and change it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. My first thoughts on the survivor for this was that Philly would be a good choice for sure. But here's what concerns me about the Eagles. And I've said this all week. This is a house of horrors for the Vikings is the link. And it's Kirk Cousins and a night game again, which he has had zero success. I mean, zero. So here we are, Vikings in Philly, where they get their break speed out of them consistently when they go there. And here we are again. I mean, do the Eagles ever play at Minnesota? I mean, that would be the other question that I have kind of right off the bat. It seems like they don't for sure. I'd be interested to see how many games in a row have been in Philadelphia, or 4 out of 5, or whatever the number may be. But what concerns me about the Eagles is this. Well, the injuries are the obvious one. They have the 2 secondary players. Bradbury's going to be out. The safety will be out as well. All right. So does that let Justin Jefferson run a little bit more free? Maybe it does. I mean, and maybe you really kind of get burnt by him here tonight if you're Philadelphia. The other thing that concerns me is the turnover at coordinators. We've seen Buffalo regress with Dayball ever since he went to the Giants. Josh Allen hasn't performed nearly as like he should. You see what the difference a coordinator can make with a team like New England, for example. Now, they didn't go to the extreme with what the Patriots did with Patricia last year, but that's all the difference in the world right now for the Patriots, like you said, to maybe should have won that game. And that's Bill O'Brien giving that offense some needed confidence as well. And Mac Jones did play good. He threw for over 300 yards, so we can't say he played bad. And if the Eagles are giving up over 300 yards in the air to Mac Jones, then what if Kirk Cousins can actually just get hot? All right, and Jefferson starts running free. What are the Eagles going to allow the Vikings to do? So that's what scares me about Philadelphia tonight. And there's always the one thing I haven't said it in a while, but the do list, right? If you remember that do list, I mean, if there's not anyone more due to get a road win in Philadelphia, it's Minnesota. And the other weird thing is I feel like this is a very public game where they're going to take the Eagles, and maybe that's my East Coast bias talking for sure. But this number has dropped, like you mentioned. I mean, it dropped low enough at -6.5 for you to take the Eagles. And I think you're right. You don't mess with an alt line if you like the Eagles. You're getting that 7 points. You know, they win by 7. There you go. You're good to go. And I could see that being the case here tonight for sure if the Vikings don't win. Now, I think it's not going to be the blowout scenario as we have seen in the past years. I'm going to try to give the Vikings a little bit of credit here, even after the loss to Tampa Bay last week, that they can actually show up. Now, they have defense is going to get better. They played good last week as well. I mean, we're talking about Brian Flores, a very capable defensive coordinator coming in to stabilize that Minnesota defense. So if we do have a little bit of chink in the armor here with Philadelphia, then maybe it's going to be the coordinator matchup. And for that reason alone, on the short week, I will not consider Philadelphia for a survivor. And trust me, I had them actually picked in 1 or 2 already, since I have 5 picks left. And what I went ahead and did is unclicked them for sure. And I'm going to lay off of that, and I'll reevaluate things, as I think there's some better plays on the board on Sunday. I actually like the Giants over the Cardinals. So even then the Giants blowout, and I know it sounds bad, but they're going to be better than what they were. So the Giants give me faith. And I have a real sneaky one that I talked about yesterday, Dave, with Tampa Bay at home on a hot, humid Sunday with the Bears wearing their black jerseys. I could see Tampa Bay, in which a scenario you could swallow them up in Survivor and not have to worry about them again too.
I thought about that, Steve. It's funny you say that. When I was looking at that list, I was like, well, this could be a spot for Tampa Bay, but I need to see a little bit more out of them. I will say, kudos to them to getting that win there against Minnesota, but I need to see a little bit more, another game or two, before I really pull the trigger on that. But yeah, that is something that I thought about as well. And I don't know, Steve. Like I said, I need to see a little bit more from Tampa before I pull the trigger there on them.
Right, and we'll get into all of that on Sunday.
Right.
But so the one thing here, all right, let me just look at the prop because I'm interested. And I haven't looked at this yet. But I'm wondering what kind of numbers we're going to get on our boy Justin Jefferson tonight.
Oh, I knew you were going to do it. I knew you were going to say it.
Well, I mean, he is minus 280 for 70+ yards.
He'll
for him
to yards, just don't take him for a touchdown.
Yeah, right, because he can't get in the end zone. Again, almost. I mean, he should have had 2 last week again. Really.
I just needed 1.
Yeah, I just needed 1 too, to be honest. And he had that break where he just couldn't get by. There's one man between him and the goal line, Dave, and the one guy got him on the cutback run.
Same old song and dance there.
He's plus 110 for 1 touchdown. For 2 touchdowns, I mean, the do list is 2 touchdowns with Jefferson. I think this is your best number, Dave, plus 750. Now, do you want to try to take him for 120, 130 yards or 2 touchdowns? It's funny you say that because he gets the yards before he does the touchdowns for sure all the time. But that's a good number for 2 touchdowns for Jefferson, plus 750. So maybe we'll take a shot there. But I'm just going to say now, and I'm not going to move the line for Minnesota. I don't think this is a lock, and I don't foresee myself playing them. But I'm not going to be surprised if they go in there tonight, get the win, and the Eagles will be 1-1 after week 2. Now, would you be surprised if Minnesota won?
A little bit, yeah. I don't think they should win here after dropping that one against Tampa. Maybe Tampa Bay will, like we talked about on Sunday, will be a little bit better than advertised. But come on, that's a game you come out. You got Jefferson,
home opener, right.
130. Again, no touchdown. Thanks, pal. But you're doing these kinds of things, and you can't win that game. I mean, come on. So yeah, I think I would be a little surprised. I don't have a lot of faith in the Vikings right now. They left a pretty nasty taste in my mouth there week 1.
All right, over-under for rushing yards. Jalen Hurts is 46.5. Madison is 47.5. DeAndre Swift, 35.5. No Gainwell tonight, and he was the featured back last week. Rashad Penny, 30.5. You forget the Eagles have him. Kirk Cousins, 3.5 for his. Any of those stick out to you?
Not quite. If you're looking at somebody, I would probably look at Madison. I have a number here of over 16.5 receiving yards at plus 100.
All right, that's not too bad. Little swing pass action. Over under for receiver yards. Goddard, 48.5. Devontae Smith, 65.5. AJ Brown, 75.5. Jefferson, 94.5. TJ Hawkinson, 51.5. Jordan Addison, 44.5. Madison, I see 15.5. Quez Watkins, just 15.5. I feel like we never see him play. DeAndre Swift, 16.5. DeAndre's been known to catch the ball too, Dave. So maybe not. That's not the worst play. Swift over 16.5 passing yards.
Yeah, I could probably see that.
As I have flashbacks to getting burned on a pass in the flats for a huge payout, Dave. It was like a $10,000 payout where it was the game Detroit where they lost big time to Carolina, and Goff tried to hit Swift on a little wheel route into the end zone, and the defender gave him a nice little pull there just enough to keep the ball from fluttering into his hands. And that was a $10,000 non-payout. Not a loss. I just didn't get paid out. So DeAndre
I
Swift.
think you could give the under a shot here too.
On which play? Oh, the game?
Just the overall, overall under.
It's funny you say that because I was looking at that myself earlier in the week, and that was kind of my first instinct. What flared me away from that was the injuries to the Eagles secondary again. But yes, the way that the Eagles kind of fluttered in New England and the way the Vikings did last week, I would definitely not be shocked to see this game end up in the 30s.
And these Thursday games are, at least at last year.
Oh, they can be some under snoozers, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. They're notorious for coming in on the under. So that would, I definitely get, the point that you make. That makes me a little nervous too. But just if it's going to trend any kind of way like it did last year, then I think you kind of have to think about an under as well.
There is another football game tonight. It is, in fact, there are two of them. One of them is off the board with Miami, the Hurricanes, playing Bethune-Cookman. But another one, Navy and Memphis, as we go to college football. If I have an official play tonight, Dave, I'm going to take, I don't know. I'll play my Jefferson 2 touchdowns for the heck of it, knowing that this might be an under game, to be honest. So if I have to have a gun pointed at me and you're asking me, I'll take the under, like you said. Okay, college football. Let's go to that. Memphis and Navy is the other game tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Memphis is a 13.5-point favorite, which they were 14.5. Now that line has dropped a whole point towards Navy, over under 47.5. Now, we saw Navy get drubbed by Notre Dame in week 1, and Notre Dame's a really good team, like a hot knife through butter. And then they didn't play nearly as bad the following week. Now, Memphis, I don't know if you followed their 2 games, Dave, but they have scored, I think, 94 combined points in those games, and they've only given up 13. So Memphis is a team who has completely dominated 2 opponents. I don't know. I don't know too much about why this line would go down a whole point. Over under 47.5. I'm not a college football expert, but if I see the Navy defense like I did against the Notre Dame defense, and you have a team like Memphis who's throwing up 50 a game, I'm going to say give me Memphis. And maybe that over under is a little low too at 47.5. I mean, do you know anything about this game?
Not much, Steve, but with that information that you just put out, I would even go with a alt line here with Memphis. If that's the case, up 50 points a game.
It looks like they're going to be the clear runaway winners of their conference. We know how football changes, but some of the other teams that should be competing in that conference have some really bad losses who are supposed to be better. And if Memphis is thumping people like this, they've always been a decent team anyway. They could be, like you said, and for a long night for Navy here.
And when's the last time, Steve, you watched Navy put up a lot of points? Think about that as well.
I've seen them in a lot of over games, but I feel like they're the ones who are on the short end of things, for sure.
They might get you 13, maybe 17 if they have a good game, and then the other team's running it up,
Well, the problem is that, too, Dave, is they're running that ball, and that clock is ticking a lot. So They're probably taking that into account with the 47.5. But, yeah, I think I like Memphis on a play here tonight just for a shot in the dark. If you're looking for something to do, the numbers just make sense to me from what Memphis has done in their previous 2 games to what Navy has done so far. It's opposite ends of the spectrum to me. So 2 touchdowns doesn't seem like much to me at Memphis at home. Moral of that story.
No, I would take that a step further, and I just might too before that game gets kicked off.
All right. Friday night, a couple armed forces teams in action, Army and Texas San Antonio, Air Force in Utah. And let's go ahead and, well, I'll tell you what, we can go ahead and pick our ACC games. How about that? We'll pick a couple other stragglers as well. But one that sticks out to me right off the bat, too, starting if we do ACC, is an ACC game itself. Florida State is playing at Boston College. Florida State is minus 26.5 and 47.5. Again, I'm going to basically just say the same thing I just did. You could just replay the last minute, and I'll use that same description on Florida State as I used on Memphis. So I would not be surprised to see this as another drubbing. And honestly, Florida State could score 47.5 themselves in this game.
My thoughts exactly. Give me Florida State. It's at minus 26 right now. I'd even dare say I'm comfortable with that, Steve. They are the third-ranked team in the nation right now. I think they're earning it. They look like a pretty good team this year. I was on that from the start. Now, I know we're only 3 weeks in, but I really, really like them this year. And
I think they're a play-on team right now. I think you just play on them until they kind of start losing you games, to be honest.
Absolutely.
So Boston College, I don't see as a team that puts up much resistance against a team like this.
No.
I don't care if they're at home or not. I've been to a game in Chestnut Hill. It's actually going to be a fast track for Florida State. So good luck stopping them.
Yeah, give me 51.5 here, Steve.
All right, let's scroll down and see what else we have. South Carolina, Georgia, 27.5 points for the number one team in the country, over under 54.5. South Carolina didn't look very good against North Carolina. I think this is a completely mismatched game. And again, I don't know, Dave. I would lay this 27.5, to be honest.
Probably so, Steve. I was none too impressed either with their game against North Carolina. So now they're playing, big dog Georgia Bulldogs. Yeah, I give me Georgia.
And Georgia doesn't have a chance to make a statement out of two teams who are somewhat decent. So while South Carolina might have some good street cred at the moment from last season lingering still, they might want to take that completely away from them Saturday at 3:30. So I think, just again, another blowout here. 54.5 might be too much because this could be like a 49-0 game type of game, to be honest. All right, so North Carolina, we just talked about them. They play Minnesota, so ACC against Big Ten, minus 7.5 for the Tar Heels. Over under is 50.5. Minnesota is a slow, lumbering, turtle-like team. North Carolina is the run and gun team. Of course, they've lost one of their players that the NCAA said that they must sit. There's a lot of talk about people pressuring Mac Brown to actually play the player in defiance of the NCAA. You can read all about that if you like online. But number 20, Carolina in Chapel Hill hosting Minnesota. Again, Dave, I think I would just stick with the favorite here. Now, Appalachian State played North Carolina to that overtime game, and yes, they could have won. But Appalachian State, that's just a matchup in state. You're just going to get that kind of effort here. The Minnesota, although they are a Big Ten school, man, that's a lot of points to be given a Big Ten school. It's an interesting dynamic for a game, but I'm going to trust Drake May and company that they can definitely just outscore Minnesota.
My thoughts as well, Steve. I have it at 7.5 at minus 105. My initial thoughts are to go all the way to 13.5. You're bound to get a decent number out of that. And I mean, North Carolina, the run and gun team that they are, can't beat the Minnesota Snails. I mean, come on. So 13.5 with North Carolina, I don't think is asking too much with the Tar Heels, play style.
Duke, 18.5-point favorites down at home against Northwestern, 48.5. Now, Northwestern got a nice little win against UTEP in which they were underdog at home. Of course, they had the coach who was fired for the hazing and all of that. Duke is a very, very well put together team, experienced quarterback. They play the game hard. Very likable team, this Duke team. And they haven't shown any chinks really either. And now they look even more impressive since Clemson actually hung 60 points last week to their opponent. So Duke at home against Northwestern. I think the Northwestern celebration will be short-lived, and I'm going to trust the Blue Devils actually to cover this big number at home. They got the experienced quarterback, and I think that's all the difference in the world here. Duke over Northwestern for me. What about you?
Yeah, Steve. So UTEP really, really let me down in that game. I had them on a couple different nice tickets too. And Northwestern, nobody thinks is going to be a good team this year. And I think everybody's right in thinking that, but they got that win. I don't see them doing it to Duke. I think Duke is actually a pretty decent team this year. So at 18.5, I would probably give that a chance. But that's probably about it, Steve. I might even take like a first half prop, in which I think I did actually. So if we're doing that, Duke minus 10.5 is 108 for a first half spread. I think that's something that I did in one of my tickets.
All right. Yeah, I like that as well. All right, let's scroll down. Washington, Michigan State, interesting game. 16.5 for Washington, 55.5, 5 p.m. game. Although Michigan State has the Mel Tucker controversy with him going on now, and Washington really, really looks good. Michigan State has played well and catching a lot of points at home. Washington has done me right so far in the season, so I could see them coming in and putting a thumping down. But maybe 55.5 is just too low for the points for the totals points here. So that would be the angle I would look at. I could see Michigan State scoring at home, Dave, but I could see Washington scoring a lot more.
Yeah, Steve, I think the over there is the better play. I think Michigan State has a bit of a chance to cover this spread, although I think Washington is ranked number 8 as of right now. And I think they're earning that too. They look like a pretty good team to start the early season. So I think the over is probably what you would want to play here, like you said. Just hope that Michigan State can get theirs at home, while the better of the two teams that we believe is Washington, can get more. So that's my thoughts as well, Steve. 55.5. Looks to be an achievable number here.
All right, 10-4. Let's see. What else do we have on the list? The Backyard Brawl. Here's an ACC member. Pittsburgh catching 2.5 at West Virginia over under 47.5. Any thoughts on this?
I believe this is a game Pittsburgh should win. I'll tell you what, West Virginia, the only thing that they have is that offensive line. They have a very good offensive line, but that's it, Steve. So they looked real bad throwing the ball, so they're going to lean heavy on the run. I just don't know what that's going to do. I think this is a game for Pittsburgh. Like I said, the other areas for West Virginia, not impressed. So give me Pittsburgh in this one.
West Virginia 1-1 on the year. They've scored 71 points. They've allowed 55. So they've been in 2 higher scoring games for sure. Pittsburgh, I believe they have had a lot of scoring success themselves. Let's see here. 66 points scored for them. They've given up 34. Yeah, so maybe an over in this game, Dave. That'd be kind of an odd way to look at it. Both of these teams with higher scoring games, over under just a 47.5, so maybe an over.
And Pittsburgh is the dog in this one. How about that? Plus 124 on the money line.
All
That's
right.
a little to me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, 10-4. Syracuse and Purdue. Syracuse minus 2.5 at Purdue, over under 57.5.
Yo, yeah, Steve. This is
Syracuse has scored a lot of points. Purdue with a nice win at Virginia Tech last week.
This is one that I would have to think about and do a little look. And I don't know too much about these two. So I see the spread is 2.5 as of right now. So it looks to be a closer game on paper. We'll see if that transpires. But yeah, Steve, I think that's going to come in the 7:30 window of when I make those bets. I'll have my early day tickets going, and then I'll have my evening tickets. So this is one that I'll probably look at later. 'Cause as of right now, I'm really not sure about these two.
Syracuse has scored 113 points, and they've given up only 7 so far in the season. Purdue, 59 and 56. So, again, this would kind of lean to an over kind of right off the bat here. Let's see. What is the total for this?
57.5.
Yeah, okay. So it's up there anyway. Who is South Florida playing at home? They're playing someone very random. Oh, yeah, they play Alabama. That's right. Okay. That's the game that's going to set up the Bucks, and it's supposed to rain on Saturday. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects Chicago and Tampa on Sunday with the field there, same field. So something to keep an eye on there. Georgia Tech is at Mississippi. So interesting game there. Let me get to what Georgia Tech has done so far in the year. They are 1-1. They've scored 82 points and they've allowed 52. So that's a lot of points for an improved Georgia Tech team. And Ole Miss, we saw them last week be very successful. And they, let's see, they have, where are the Rebels here? Oh, here we go, Ole Miss. Let's see, they've scored 110 points and given up just 27. So again, maybe just another over-under here. I mean, these teams have had a lot of points, and it's not like they've had bad opponents either. They've had Louisville, who scored a lot. Georgia Tech has, and Mississippi with that fun game last week against Tulane. So 63.5 might be too little again for these two. And it's interesting, Georgia Tech's catching 18.5. I wonder if they can actually hang within that number, maybe lose that game by 14 or 13 or something like that. So your thoughts on that? A night game in Mississippi, so that makes it harder maybe.
That's going to be iffy. I think that might be a tough ask against that Ole Miss team. I could see Ole Miss winning by 21. But I think maybe you give a shot to the over here, Steve, and just kind of hope that they rack it up on each other. But what would worry me that is Georgia Tech getting theirs against Ole Miss, who is ranked 17 at the moment. So, again, that's another tough one, Steve. That's a spread that I'm not all that confident with. I'm not too sure about it. So, and the over of 63, that's just, man, that is a lot of points. And is Georgia Tech going to help you? Because you're going to need some help with a number like 63. Ole Miss can go up and put 48. And if Georgia Tech only kicks a field goal or two, that's not going to help your cause. So you need Georgia Tech's help. And, Steve, I just don't know that you're going to get it against a ranked Ole Miss team.
All right, so that'll be an interesting game. We'll have some fun games Saturday night for sure.
We really do.
Clemson and Florida Atlantic. Clemson just laying 25.5 over under 51.5. Any thought on that?
This is the Clemson game?
Yep. Clemson and Florida Atlantic.
Oh, yeah.
Clemson is at home.
Yeah, they should. Well, I'd like to think Clemson will do what they did just like last week. So 24.5 is what we have. I may be interested in that. Again, 51.5. I can see Clemson getting into the 40s. Are they going to give that many to Florida Atlantic? Steve, I just don't know. I really don't.
Maryland
I would be more comfortable with the spread, I think.
Maryland is at home, and they're laying 14.5 to Virginia. I could see Virginia taking some lumps in this one for sure. Maryland has played well. They beat Charlotte 38-20 their last time out. UVA losing to James Madison. Still trying to get some treading after the horrible events of last season, which left 3 of their players dead. So the Terps 2-0 so far to start. Looks like another win probably for Maryland. I mean, they've looked pretty impressive. Virginia, a tough road to hoe here, I would say, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. I would have to agree.
All right. And then, so it's interesting because when I'm looking at everything, I'm looking at the lines. But of course, since we're in Virginia, we don't have the 2 local teams. So we have to do a little bit more digging for what we have. Let's see. Virginia Tech is at Rutgers, which is an interesting matchup.
Yeah, that is.
Let's see if the Hokies are catching some points here. I like them. Virginia Tech is plus 6.5. Over under is 39.5. I could actually see this being an over game. That's a low over under 39.5. And I think this Virginia Tech team is improved. They did lose to Purdue, but they played them competitively. In Rutgers, they've beaten Northwestern, and then, let's see, what did they do last week? Whatever it wasn't eye-catching anyway. So I'm going to maybe look at Virginia Tech for an upset here. How about you?
Oh, Steve, yeah, I'm going to go Rutgers. I just don't I don't think Tech is quite all that. So I'm going to go Rutgers. I'm just going to go the other way on you there.
All right. It's good to disagree for sure. All right. So those are all the ACC games for the week. All right, Dave, let's just knock out the baseball real quick and we'll go ahead and get on out of here. I think I'm getting pressured on the phone here.
All right. Hey, Steve, one more thing before we go. There was a play here that I'm kind of looking at. It's not ACC action, but Oklahoma State is playing. I think it was I just lost a game. Where was it? Hold on, let me pull that back up. No, not conference winner. Oh, sorry, Steve. Give me 1 second here. Why does it do that?
Because that's what it does.
Just always now I got to go through all the conference winners. Okay. That's not. Oh, all right, here we go.
Brewers 4, Marlins 2, by the way.
So we have the 7:00 game here. Oklahoma State playing South Alabama, and it's at Oklahoma State catching 7.5. I think they can blow out South Alabama. I think you have an alt spread play here just waiting to happen. 13.5, 16.5, all look good to me. I just wanted to throw that out there just because I think it could be kind of a hidden play, and I think it's a spot where Oklahoma State can beat up on South Alabama.
All right. So Nephew Dave's college play of the week. There we go. Who do Sooners play?
The Sooners have Tulsa, which should be an absolute bloodbath.
All right. So lay the points in that. What's the spread on that?
So the spread on that one, last I checked, I think was I think it was 28, and that's a 3:30 game. Let me check on that real quick. As I was just switching to baseball, but we are going 28, Steve, is the spread right now. And I think it could be, I don't know, 40-6. Over under is 60. Expect a lot of points here. Oklahoma's defense getting better, getting recruits, so it's going to continue to get better over the years. So I don't know, unless Oklahoma gets most of it by themselves, how many Tulsa's really going to get here, Steve. So I would look at Oklahoma minus 28 or maybe even a little bit more if you want to push it.
All right, 10-4. I like it. All right, so I feel comfortable laying some monster favorites going into Saturday because we know how that always works out, right? Okay.
Exactly.
Let's breeze through to baseball real quick here. And as I've mentioned all week, if you're betting on some of these teams who have nothing to play for, then you're really asking for trouble this time of the season. And all the scores are indicating it. I mean, all of our super over-unders are kind of evaporated, but I knew that was coming, so I haven't been playing them. So all the big crooked numbers have kind of evaporated at this moment in time. And then tonight we have a lot of good pitching matchups. So be aware of that. I'm not going to play the Rangers and Blue Jays, Dave, but will you? Minus 154 for Gossman, over under 7.5 with Evaldi on the mound for the Rangers.
Oh, Steve, that's tough.
Good pitchers.
Good pitchers. Your number is 7.5, so it's indicating that. Well, I don't know, Steve. If I had to, I think I would just put it in a parlay and go with the Blue Jays at minus 148. I know that number is probably not very sexy, but it just is what it is at this time of the year. You're hoping, the Blue Jays can just keep ground in the playoff race, knowing that, they need the wins. So if anything for me, Steve, probably not going to do it, but money line Blue Jays.
All right. I'll do a no play on that. The Yankees game 2 of their doubleheader at the Red Sox. Schmidt against good old to be determined. But none of the bullpens got taxed today in the doubleheader. So I'm going to maybe just pass on this because, again, these two teams have nothing to play for. But do you see anything here?
My initial thought looking at this, Steve, was to play an under. Under 9.5 at minus 120. I've really scaled back on the baseball wagers here just because this time of year can be kind of difficult to navigate. And, it's just difficult to navigate. It's that way come this time of the year. As a seasoned better yourself, Steve, I think you can kind of understand that. So I think maybe under, if they've got nothing to play for, then, who knows. But it's going to be a no play from me, really.
All right. Twins and the White Sox matters for the Twins just somewhat slightly as they still have their commanding lead in the AL Central. So it's Maeda against Urena. You never know what you're going to get from the White Sox right now. That's for sure. So this is going to be a no play for me just because the Twins can disappear at times too. Although you would think they just want to put the final couple of nails in the coffin for the division title here. So maybe they're probably motivated for that. But I'm not going to have a play on this. Are you?
No, Steven. And it's, I'll tell you why real quickly. It's exactly what you just say. You never know what the hell you're going to get from the White Sox, Steve. So forget about this game because here comes the White Sox to mess up whatever you got going for sure as soon as you take it.
Playoff type of game in Baltimore with a big 4-game series in which the Rays could find themselves on top of the division here by the end of the weekend. If the Orioles bats can continue to fall asleep like they have the last 2 nights, minus 138 for Bradish and the Orioles, Savali, and the Rays plus 118. I think I'm going to sit back and watch. I mean, because I love the bats and I want this to be an over game. But both of these pitchers have done well at shutting down the opponent. And if it's going to be a playoff type of baseball game, then maybe it is lower scoring just tonight. I would expect to see some runs over the weekend at some point, though, between these teams. I'm just not so sure it's tonight. But maybe we'll take a stab at it for fun because both of these teams definitely can put up a crooked number. But two confident pitchers here too, right, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. This is, like you said, to start off the series, this might be the first game to watch, maybe kind of see what you might get. I'm 100% expecting a split out of this series for sure. I don't think the Rays find themselves sitting atop the division after this weekend. The Orioles are not going to let that happen. They're going to come to play. So I do kind of like the -1.5 number for the O's at home of plus 150. If you wanted to juice something up that you have going already, I would consider that. But Steve, I think you make a pretty good point here. Let's just sit back, watch this game, maybe see what we can get, trending wise going for the rest of the series.
All right. And one last one, San Fran and Colorado. Big pass for me there for sure.
Big pass here too, Steve. Unless you really want me to agree with you.
Mets 0-0 bottom of the third. And then let's get the rest of the scores here. And we'll go ahead and wrap things up here in a second. Let's see. Finals are in. Brewers do hold on to beat the Marlins 4-2. Red Sox 5-0 over the Yankees. 8-2 Tigers over the Reds. Pirates 2, Nationals 0, and which was a snooze fest. And 0-0 Mets bottom of the third, but 2 men on. And the game of the day, Dave, was our own Norfolk Tides, a game that I really actually wanted to go to. I was wondering if I would be inebriated for this broadcast, but I am not. But our Norfolk Tides, trailing 9-2, end up winning with 8 runs in the 7th inning, I think it was what it was, 12-10 over their opponent today. So how about them, Dave?
Yeah, Steven, that's not the first time that they've done that.
They've done that a few times for sure. 86-54 on the season are the AAA Norfolk Tides. And if you don't know who they are, people out there, they are the AAA affiliate of the Orioles, which makes the Orioles' outlook for the future very, very strong. Don't think this is a fluke by Baltimore just these last couple of years. They've actually groomed this farm system to be very, very successful, and a big win for the Tides today, as they'll actually have playoffs coming up here in just about 14 days or so. I think less than that. I think the 26th.
Steve,
yeah.
Jackson Holiday gets his first run for her home
run.
He
did have a home run. I was looking for to see if he actually did any more than that. Let me see.
Number 1 prospect in baseball.
The Tides do this again. Like you said, they do this all the time. Let's see, the box score for today. Get off the Redbirds. The Redbirds were the opponent. Holiday. Let's see, where'd he go? Let's see. 2 for 3. A run, an RBI, 2 walks. Let's see. And then the big inning was in the bottom of the 6th. Bottom of the 6th, they get 8 runs, and that's all they need to win 12-10 in a fun game against Memphis, a game that I'm actually really sad that I missed today. I usually make this Thursday day game this week for the last couple of years, and I did not today. So big loser for me for doing so. But it's all good, Dave. It's all good. All right, your best bets for tonight, Dave?
I think, Steve, let me just check here. I have to go. Best bets are probably going to be the Eagles spread.
I think I just have one.
I think it's just the Eagles spread, really, is all I'm missing.
All right. Baseball was bad. College, a lot of fun with that. Saturday, it looks like. I think we found some good angles there. Best bets for me for tonight will be Memphis. I'll take Memphis, Dave, over Navy, laying 13.5. How about that?
Yeah, I'm not mad at that one either.
All right, guys. Me and Nephew Dave will be back Sunday morning. David will pop in the studio right about 9 o'clock. And we will go through the full NFL slate for the day as we have a good one on tap. A lot of interesting games Sunday to go over. All right, Dave, good luck tonight. We'll see you then.
All right, Steve.
All right, good luck, everyone.